Oh hey there, welcome to Western Civilization. Today, we'll be taking a field trip back to the 4th century BC. Western civilization is at the core of who we are today. A man by the name of Alexander would come to save Western civilization from itself and from others. Today's lesson is to convey that Alexander the Great was as dominant and successful as he was because of his integrity and strategic brilliance throughout his domination. Conquer hundreds of thousands of people, and was able to remain in control because of his character towards others. If Alexander the Great lived longer than just 33 years, it's quite possible that he could have conquered the whole world. Alexander the Great was the son of Macedonian King Philip II. Macedonia was seen as a hillbilly barbaric region, which would come to save Greece and Western civilization from dying. Because of Alexander's father, Alexander was placed in a position for success. With the strong military Philip knew was necessary, Macedonia fought, and completely demolished Athens at the Battle of Chaeronea. With the formation of the Corinthian League, it unified both Macedonia and Greece to take on the Persian Empire. Before King Philip was able to carry out his attack against the Persian Empire, he was assassinated. Upon his father's death, Alexander stepped up to the plate, at the age of 20, in 334 BC. Through studying under Aristotle, Alexander was in love with Greek culture. Alexander wanted to preserve and spread Greek ideals, so everywhere he went, he did just that. 1,000 men, and fought the Persians at Granicus River. Despite the battle, almost costing Alexander his life, it would propel him into a 12-year conquest, overtaking nearly the entire Persian Empire. With his powerful military machine, he liberated Ionian city-states, and realizing that he could not continue without the support of the people he conquered, he treated them with fairness and justice. Continuing his conquest, Alexander was greatly outnumbered by Persian troops. So using his militaristic brilliance, he scouted out a thin, narrow battlefield, allowing him to win once again. Alexander to continue his conquest of the Persian Empire. Next, Alexander sought to conquer port city Tyre. Lacking naval resources, he used his militaristic brilliance by building a causeway so that he could use siege warfare to surround and capture Tyre. With his engineering and militaristic brilliance, Alexander was able to capture major port cities that were vital to Persia. Egypt surrendered without a fight, and Alexander allowed them to continue their normal affairs. Upon this, the Egyptians recognized Alexander as pharaoh, and was hailed by the people as son of Ammon, the same as being called the son of Zeus. Alexander treated the people he conquered as fellow humans, and in return they anointed him as royalty. After declining a peace settlement, Alexander fought a decisive battle at Gaugamela. Alexander was tremendously outnumbered. So using his militaristic brilliance, he penetrated Persia's front lines with his strong cavalry, which forced a rout among the Persian army. After decisively defeating the Persians at Gaugamela, Alexander seized vast amounts of Persian treasuries at Susa and Persepolis. 1 year later, in 330 BC, Darius was killed by his own men, allowing Alexander to become the great king of Persia. Alexander sought out more land to the east, and 4 years later he had entered India. Alexander engaged with the Indians in a brutal battle at Hydaspes. And through militaristic strength and intellect, Alexander reigned victorious. Primary source author Arrian wrote about Alexander meeting the Indian king. In the source, it's depicted that Alexander noticed the Indian king, Porus, fighting strong next to his men, even when they were losing badly. Alexander sent a messenger to retrieve the king. Upon interaction, Arrian depicts this.
What do you wish that I should do with you?
Treat me as a king ought.
For my part, your request shall be granted. But is there not something you would wish for yourself? Ask it.
Everything is contained in this one request.
Upon his troops' exhaustion, They headed back to Susa and Babylon. As they made their way through the Trojan desert, many of them were starving and thirsty. With extreme loyalty from his men, they gathered together a cup of water and gave it to Alexander. After receiving the cup, he turned to his men, and dumped the cup of water on the ground. It's said that this action was as good as giving a drink to everyone in his army. By Alexander treating himself like all the other men, it demonstrated his fairness towards everyone around him. With Alexander's kindness towards others, as well as his strategic brilliance during battles, it allowed him to achieve greatness. The heart represents his kindness towards those he conquered, and as a result, his empire was kind to him. The fight represents how even though Alexander had a smaller army and the odds were against him in nearly every battle, with his intelligent mind at the forefront, he was able to reign victorious in the end. With his militaristic brilliance, using siege warfare, advanced cavalry, and pure engineering skills, along with respecting and treating those around him justly, Alexander demonstrated both intelligent warfare and integrity. And that is how Alexander of Macedonia became Alexander the Great.